So when it was announced that Senator Bernie Sanders was working together with Joe Biden on policy positions, some of the corporations were very concerned that Joe Biden was going to be more open to more left-wing positions on the economy. However, these companies are being reassured by the banks that nothing will fundamentally change. According to CNBC, financial advisory firm Signum Global Advisors recently told clients Thursday that it isn't convinced that Joe Biden is going to be progressive or nearly as progressive as some may hope if he defeats Donald Trump in November. The firm told corporate clients in a note that it believes the policy recommendations put together by task forces filled with allies of Joe Biden and the more progressive Senators Bernie Sanders show that the presumptive Democratic nominee doesn't plan to side too often with those on the left side of the political spectrum if he becomes president. So now, if Joe Biden isn't siding with the left, well, then who's he siding with? Well, the answer is obvious. He's siding with the right wing. I mean, I know, right? There are people like, no, it's the center. It's the center. Well, what's the center? I mean, what really is the center, right? I mean, it's all just right wing. We have an Overton window that has shifted so far to the right that those that are considered to be far left are actually just center left, even moderate. But anyway, the note says nothing that I haven't said before. It describes their report of these task forces and of Joe Biden's positions as, quote, aspirational, adding that it pays lip service to some of the party's more progressive ideas, though has few specifics about how ideas will be achieved, and generally repeats most of the moderate ideas from the Biden campaign's website. And that's, of course, just what we need, more lip service. Now, Signum has also previously told clients that it does expect Biden to defeat Trump and for Democrats to flip the Senate. And certainly when you look at some of the poll numbers, when you look at the fact that Donald Trump is even losing his base, he's definitely lost ground, even in the Republican Party. Well, I mean, that's not too far-fetched to believe. And to believe that he's going to drag down some of the people on his, some of the Republicans, some of his allies in Congress, which is why those people are distancing himself from Donald Trump or themselves. So now that means, of course, that the Democrats also won't be able to blame Republicans when Biden's more moderate ideas don't actually solve the big problems of the day, whether it be climate change or the cost of healthcare that continues to rise, people unable to afford healthcare, student loan debt still being basically unaffordable and an albatross around people's necks. All that stuff won't be solved, right? That's going to lead to, and I can see this happening in 2024, being a midterm that is going to be dominated by Republicans. They could flip the House, they could flip the Senate, they could do both, because the Democrats probably will not put forward any sort of bold ideas in order to really fix things. And then we're going to be back to, of course, what Democrats had under a second term of Barack Obama. Basically lame duck with no progress and tons of Republican obstruction. So now that note, by the way, was co-authored by Charles Myers. Now, Charles Myers is the founder of Signum, and the reason the firm believes Biden won't be following progressive policy is due to what's missing in the outline, along with the lack of specifics for ideas that could impact the economy. Myers, it's important to note, is a Biden ally, right? And so he's an insider. He's an active fundraiser for Biden. And if he's out there saying, he's a donor, he's out there saying, don't worry, guys, Biden is not going to be progressive at all. Well, then you should probably listen, because these are the guys who call the shots, the donors. Now, CNBC notes that Myers sent out this note because his clients had, quote, expressed concern about the possibility of seeing their taxes go up. And of course, They hate that. Now, Biden says, oh, yes, let's raise corporate taxes. Now, Donald Trump, remember, he slashed corporate taxes from 35% under Barack Obama to now 21%. So massive, massive cuts in corporate taxes. So now what's Biden going to do? Is he going to bring it up to 40%? What about even back to 35%? No, not even that. No, he says he's going to raise the corporate tax rate from 21% up to 28%. Ooh, bold. Really? You couldn't even bring it back to Obama? Wow. Now, Signum also noted that some of the biggest progressive ideas that are not included in Biden's policy recommendations are things like the Green New Deal. That's missing, obviously. Medicare for all, obviously. But even simple things like legalizing weed. Who at this point is for keeping marijuana illegal, especially now when 2/3 of the population are like, yeah, of course, legalize it already. It's so stupid to keep this drug Schedule 1 along with heroin, right? Because Schedule 1, that's basically saying there's no medicinal benefit in this whatsoever. Are you kidding? But of course, look, the only people that want to keep marijuana illegal are people that benefit from keeping it illegal. That's people that, of course, the police, which Joe Biden says, let's put more money into the police instead of less, defund police. And then, Big Pharma, because Big Pharma wants to make their own synthetic versions of THC, of marijuana, and be able to sell that for a massive profit. And that, of course, cuts in to their business. And pharmaceutical companies are a gigantic donor to not only to, Joe Biden himself, but also to the Democrats in Congress. So most progressive presidents since FDR, my ass. Here's another quote from Myers. He said, the result represents a very successful effort by Biden and his team to control the narrative and policy direction while making just enough concessions to the progressive wing to avoid an open rift in the party. No, here's why there is an open rift in the party, right? It's because Donald Trump is bad enough to where I think a majority of progressives, and they're, of course, not all of them obvious, that's why I said a majority of progressives, are going to hold their nose. They'll be like, all right, fine. We'll choose the corporatists over the fascist. And that sucks. That's a terrible position to be in, but that's where we're at. So now, some of the so-called concessions are actually incredibly popular. One is $15 minimum wage. Then there's some student loan forgiveness. Now, remember, there's a guy out there who was actually going to cancel all student loan debt. Joe Biden says, nope, I'm not going that far. So what we're going to do is we're going to do stuff like, for example, cancel up to $10,000 in student loan debt for each borrower thanks to coronavirus. Oh, just $10,000. You realize some people have hundreds of thousands of student loan debt, right? The average is around $50,000. I mean, it's not really that. Okay, well, we'll continue because that's not all. There's more. His plan would also forgive all undergraduate tuition from 2 to 4 year public colleges and universities. So now forgiveness is different than cancellation. Forgiveness, again, is a little bit more means tested. As always, Democrats love their means tests. And then depending on how it's structured, it could end up being taxable income or being counted as taxable income, which would move a lot of people with large amounts of student loan debt who would be eligible under this program. And generally it'd be people who are lower income. It would bump them up several tax brackets to where they would end up owing a lot of money to the federal government in the form of taxation instead of owing lots of money into the federal government in the form of student loans. So basically, it's not that big of a help as well. Not only that, but he would forgive all undergraduate tuition for borrowers who earn $125,000 or less per year, means testing, and who graduate from a private HBCU, that's a historically black college and university. So why not just like cancel the debt? Like, especially since like student loan debt really hurts, disproportionately minority students. If you care about the HBCUs, I mean, you could at least say, okay, we're going to cancel all HBCU debt. Because this community is even more disadvantaged than all the other students, we'll go the extra step and just target historically black colleges and universities and cancel all their debt. I mean, that at least it would be something that would get, young African American, voters to be like, oh, Joe Biden just targeted us with a policy that would be incredibly helpful, canceling our debt. Great. No, won't even go there. Too far for him. Now, here's the thing. This is already stuff that the Democrats have already agreed with before, right? So is this really any sort of like concession? Since they already had these positions prior to Joe Biden winning the nomination. I mean, it's kind of laughable calling it a concession, really. It was already the establishment position. I hate to say it. We got rolled. Bernie Sanders got rolled. But then again, look, I guess he didn't have much of a choice. Bernie Sanders agreed ahead of time. Hey, man, look, I'm going to support the nominee. I'm going to make sure I do everything I can to, get people to vote for Joe Biden so that we can defeat Donald Trump. He made that promise, and he's a man of his word. And so, yeah, he's doing everything he can. It still sucks, though. It really does suck. And, yeah. But look, that said, right, let's go back to the firm. Now, they also said that the minimal details in the recommended economic policy show that Biden is on track to stay away from any major progressive overhauls. And again, that's the problem. What we've said before is that Joe Biden, he's status quo Joe. He's not going to change anything. Under his administration, nothing will fundamentally change. That's what he told his donors. That's what he's telling America with his policies. Don't worry. Nothing is going to fundamentally change. Now, that said, pointing any of this out, right, that doesn't mean I'm helping or supporting Donald Trump. No, I despise Donald Trump. Look, I'll be honest with you. I'm probably going to vote for Biden. Yeah, I know, right? But here's the thing. I don't feel the need to gaslight you people by telling you that Biden's going to be this progressive savior, right? That he's going to be this champion because, he's worked together with Bernie Sanders to drag him to the left. That he's going to fight for, these economically populist ideas. He's not going to do that. We know that he's not going to do that. Now, you could still vote for Joe Biden and expect very little. And that's pretty much where I'm at. It's a vote for harm reduction. But it's also one of those things where it's like, if you don't, if you don't believe that, or if you say, look, I know it's harm reduction, but X, Y, and Z, right? I still don't feel comfortable voting for Biden because of the allegations for Tara Reade, for example. And I'm a victim, right? I get it. I'm not going to gaslight you. I'm not going to vote shame you because never in the history of America has vote shaming ever actually worked to change someone's mind. Like, never have I seen a conversation like, I just don't feel comfortable voting for Biden because, for whatever reason, right? And then somebody comes along and says, well, congratulations, you just helped Donald Trump. Oh, well, gee, I never even thought of that. I guess I will vote for Biden. That has never happened in the history of humanity. So it's really, really kind of stupid to do voter shaming in either direction, by the way. And so I'm not in favor of that. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tell you where Joe Biden is on the issues, where he actually stands, and what he's actually going to do. Because I think that is, you got to be honest. I'm going to tell you exactly where Joe Biden stands. I'm also going to tell you exactly where Donald Trump stands. And you're going to make your decision whether or not you want to do that, or, vote between those two, or do something else. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's your vote. And that said, just to kind of wrap this thing up, Biden, he's not Trump. He's not the same as Trump. Okay? And that's pretty much the only argument that I can come up with. And that's the DNC, ironically, has their dream scenario to finally find go against an incumbent that is so bad that it makes their guy look great in comparison. I mean, it only took a viral pandemic, a recession with unemployment so bad that it's near depression levels, a criminally dumb, incompetent person in office who was so hilariously bad at hiding his corruption, racism, xenophobia, and sexism, for somebody like Biden with so many of his own issues to have what it seems to look like to be a slam dunk victory. Congratulations, I guess. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.